As long as humans have existed, dance has too. It is highly unlikely that during any time in history, aside from the extremely strict puritanical rule of the 1600s, that dance did not exist. Every country, every culture has its own style. But despite the vast differences, one thing unifies all modern dance: the glaring lack of male dancers. Why is there such a big gender gap in the dance studios? Dance is athletic, fatiguing, and hard. There is not one thing about it that is pink, despite all those pictures. So, why don't boys dance? This is Anna Teo, pre-professional dancer and amateur sleuth, solving the mystery of the missing male dancer. Now, unfortunately for this project, I'm a girl, with absolutely no insight into the male mind. So in order to help me decode why boys don't dance, I decided to interview 3 male dancers: Justice, Winston, and Florian. As well, I am interviewing Ryan, who is an ordinary boy and plays hockey. First up, Winston Wong. Winston has been dancing for 2 years and is one of the most passionate dancers that I know. His specialties are ballroom and Latin, and he is completely self-taught. He's known all over the school as that boy who dances in the atrium in the morning, and that's actually how I first knew him. Justice Walker is beginning his second year of dance at Woodruff High School. Although I personally have not seen too much of his dancing, I do know he enjoys it quite a lot. The next dancer's name is Florian Nagy. Unfortunately, he is a very busy university student and was unable to send any dance footage. However, I do know that he is an avid salsa dancer. Okay, so why do you dance?
I dance because I enjoy it. I find it very fun. It's a way to get exercise and enjoyment at the same time, right? I'm not a big fan of working out, doing that kind of exercise. I find that there isn't really much gratification in it.
Yes,
Whereas dance, you have a finished result that you can, well, if it's recorded, you can see it, and then you have work. So you could show the work that you've done and present it to other people.
And there's also like the expression in it.
Yes, and you get to express yourself to a degree, especially if you're choreographing it.
Yeah, I know. Sure. Why do you dance?
Alright, so I dance. I tried it in high school in grade 10, and it was really fun. It's like a sport essentially. Um, 2 people or more, depending if you do salsa. And it's like a sport, and 2 people in a group, and it's really fun to do, as well as being physical exercise.
So, why do you dance?
Well, I dance because it's a newfound passion. I never knew I could back when I was a little kid, but when I found out in grade 8 that I could dance, I decided that I should go further with it, and now it's something that I do every day because it's so important to me.
Why do you think boys tend to not want to dance?
I think it's partially because many of them do not give it a fair chance. And they're constantly told by other guys, people around them, that it's not manly, it's more effeminate, just because more girls tend to do it, which I think is fairly odd. Anyone can be artistic, anyone can express themselves, and I think that dance is a great way to do that.
Why do you think that other boys don't dance?
Well, I guess that depends on what age group you're talking about. I guess in middle school and maybe a bit into high school, is all sort of dancing is perceived as being a girly thing and not for guys, and that would turn a lot of people off. But I guess later on, guys who do all sorts of dance. I mean, I've met just as many guys that dance salsa as girls that dance salsa outside of the people I know from my salsa class. But I guess with things like ballet, it still sort of applies because in the media, it's always there's a really graceful woman pulling all sorts of all sorts of great acrobatics that, and then it sort of sort of implies that ballet is not for guys and that it's more of a womanly sport, which it's not true obviously, but I guess just the way it's portrayed in the media makes it seem so, and then a lot of guys don't even consider it as an option.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
And so why do you think that other boys tend to think that dance is more effeminate?
Well, dancing goes way back. It's one of the more natural things that humans do besides cooking and drawing. Dancing is definitely a more fragile way of expressing yourself, whereas you're throwing yourself out there to express yourself. And the reason is why guys might think that it's more of a feminine role that it takes is because you're fragile, you're putting yourself out there, you're putting any type of emotion into what you're doing. And guys, stereotypically in society, it's more like you gotta be manly, you've got to be tough and not show how you really feel.
Ryan McPherson is a former hockey player, baseball player, and an all-round sporty person. He can't help it, he's McPherson. Don't dance.
I think a lot of them don't do it because, first of all, a lot of other guys don't do it. A lot of other guys do other sports so they're influenced by them. And also due to the fact that they think they'll get made fun of, or it's not a very guy sport, like not very manly to do. People don't think it's all only for girls and exclusive really to girls.
Winston's answer can be summarized into the fact that dance is an art, and art automatically implies self-expression and vulnerability. Art, when done correctly, forces you to show other people yourself. Good art is determined by the degree you lose yourself in it, and the degree people can find you in it. In our current society, being a man is marketed to mean you don't show your emotions, you don't show yourself. By this logic, art, which is really about showing your emotions, is clearly not for boys. Professional artists tended to be male until the 19th century, and the most famous continue to be male to this day. Mary Ann Evans wrote under the pen name George Eliot to ensure her work was taken seriously. Women were not allowed to go on stage until 1660, and then they were viewed as courtesans. The three other answers seem to say that the reason why boys don't dance is because other boys don't dance. By extension, this means that dance is not perceived as manly, because otherwise boys would dance. This begs the question of, what is manly? There is, of course, the stereotype of manliness, but I'm not interested in stereotypes. I want the truth. To do that, I'm interviewing 4 men that I highly respect, asking them their definition of manly.
How would I define manly? When I think of the word manliness, certain words come up in my mind. I think of integrity. I think of strength, of perseverance, tenacity, leadership. Those are some of the words that come up to me when I think of manliness and being a man.
I think real manliness, is actually loving people. And the words of Olaf, love is putting the needs of someone else above your own. So when I think of the most manly men I know, it's not the guys with the biggest muscles or the greatest beards, but rather it is those guys who care for the innocent, who protect the vulnerable, and who stand up for those who don't have a voice.
Thank you.
What it means to be manly or be a man. It's trying to step outside the cultural stereotypes of what gender is, but I try and base my template on the archetype of Jesus, going outside of what our society says. When I look at Jesus as someone who cares for the least people and wants everybody to reach the best potential of themselves, he wasn't afraid to show affection or emotion. He spoke in poetry. He was not afraid to tell his bros that he loved them because he was real with his emotions. But he did it all so that everyone would have the best potential in themselves realized. So to be a man, I think, is to care for those things.
Thank you.
How do I define being a man?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that has a lot to do with how I define being just an individual, a person, regardless of man or woman. But for a guy, you gotta follow your passions. You gotta do what you feel you were created to do. You don't care about what other people say or what other people's comments are, because you know this is what you want to do. if you are in a relationship, it means absolute and utter mutual respect. It means decisions are made together. If you're a father, it means that you are taking care of your family alongside with your wife. If you're a son, it means that you're respecting authority. It means you're respecting your parents, that you're making decisions together. It also means finding out what you can do. It means pushing the boundaries in a very healthy way. So you go and you discover new things. You go and you challenge yourself. You explore different areas, different countries, different cultures, whatever it takes to figure out what it is that means for you to be a man within this society. But more than everything, it's just being yourself.
Looking at these 4 definitions of manly, it is not necessary to prove dance as manly. The definitions include dance by default. Now, if you noticed, something interesting is going on. All the male dancers, which are between the ages of 15 to 19, stated that boys aren't dancing because it isn't manly. But all the men I interviewed, asking them their definition of manly, included the phrase, step out of the social norms in their definition. These men were all over the age of 23. Several things you perceive as girly actually started out as manly. For example, cheerleading was once considered too masculine for girls. Many famous men used to be cheerleaders, like Franklin Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, and George W. Bush. Pink used to be decided and stronger, while blue was more delicate and dainty. And finally, crying used to be manly, was considered honest. Now we're going to take a look at dance. Dance, while it included women equally very early on, as it was a very social activity, was incredibly manly. For example, ballet, which is the most feminized form of dance, was part of training for battle. Hip-hop was partially based on the fighting moves of gangs in the US. And perhaps the best example of all, several indigenous peoples have war dances. Finally, just look at this list of celebrities that were or are famous for their dancing. In conclusion, if you want to dance, dance. And if you don't want to dance, that's fine.